waiting for Christmas, this wait over the next week or two?
It is a little bit. It's exciting, but it's fantastic to be able to have a week off to let any niggles settle down and really get an opportunity to watch Sydney Carlton. And as I said, put a couple of good weeks of training together and look forward to next week.
Not that you'd knock back a prelim final, but a group of you did have a rest in the last round, then played, and then having another rest. Is that going to benefit you, do you think, or would you prefer to be playing?
I think it will benefit us. I was one of the guys that had a rest, and I found it really helped me going into the game on the weekend. Just felt a little bit fresher, and I can't see how another rest is going to impede us in any way.
Now, have you eased off on the track a little so far this week?
I think slightly. Obviously, we're not playing on the weekend, so the loads have been backed off a little bit. But going into next week and on Saturday, we'll still train and still get some loading going into next week.
Which players have benefited the most from this week's break? Is that those 3 or 4 guys that haven't missed a game all season?
Yeah, I think the workload on those guys has been really strong and really heavy, and those guys, I've only missed a couple, but those guys will really benefit from the contact sort of stuff that sort of comes with week in, week out AFL footy, so they would have really been able to let those niggles settle down.
Now, you've got guys on your team who've been waiting a long time for an opportunity like this, like the Nats and the Sandys. Do you feel privileged this early in your career to have this sort of opportunity?
Yeah, I've been really lucky. I was talking with Luke McFarlane earlier in the week, and he's been through some really tough days at the club, and I've been lucky enough to play in 3 or 4 final series, so I definitely don't take it for granted, but I'm really excited at the opportunity that we've given ourselves.
Is there that determination to do it for those guys who've been around this club for so long and been wanting this to happen?
I think so. I think everyone's got motivation for different reasons, but for those guys and our members and supporters who haven't had the success over the club's existence, there is extra motivation for them.
What were some of the last words that McFarlane passed on about these experiences?
We just spoke briefly about the last prelim that he played in and how it was a away game and how it was a tough experience but an exciting one to be involved in, and how he said that he can't wait to get out there again and on the same.
You're only 1 win away from a potential grand final. You just mentioned yourself at the moment.
Yeah, we are 1 win away from the grand final, but we're 1 win away from our season end, 1 loss away from our season ending. So we really can't afford to look any further than next week. And so internally our focus remains pretty solid.
Now, your career is still young, but was last week the best win you've been involved in?
I think it was definitely up there. Finals wins are the best wins, and our win last year against Geelong, against the odds, and our win in 2010 against Hawthorn were up there with some of the best wins I've been involved in.
You guys you've always talked about having confidence in your game plan and that sort of thing, but a win over Geelong in Geelong, what does that do to that confidence?
I think confidence comes from your action, and our action is really stacked up this year and at the back end of last year as well. So it does give us a little bit of confidence, but at the end of the day, it's our action that really is what we're focused on, and the confidence really comes from that.
And it looked really tight and heated out there. Was that just a finals thing, or was that just a one-off for that game?
No, I think that's finals footy. It's just an intense game, and whoever can maintain that intensity for longer generally wins. So that's the nature of the beast.
Was there any moment during that game where you felt like you were on top?
Not really. It was an arm wrestle all day. Probably when Healy kicked that goal in the dying minutes, it probably was the most confident I felt all day. But at any stage, it was a real arm wrestle, and they really had some opportunities in the last quarter. So we weren't perfect, and we reviewed the game this week and really look forward to moving forward from it.
So what are a couple of those things that came up in the review?
Just without going to specifics, it was just maintaining that focus right to the last minute of the game, and a little bit of game sense stuff. They had a couple of opportunities in the last quarter, but generally pretty solid.
Will you watch the Sydney Carlton game? Ross said not everyone watches.
Yeah, there's been no specific message to sit down and watch it, but I live with a couple of the guys, so we might get together and just sit down and have a watch, yeah.
So it's not a team thing, you won't get together as a team and watch it?
No, there's a couple of coaches going over and they'll dissect the game and show us what we need to see.
Mark Thompson said earlier in the week that out of the top 4, you guys would be the hungriest. The other teams have been there, they've won premierships out of that top 4. Do you feel like you're probably the hungriest to win a premiership?
I can only speak for our club, and I know internally that we're really hungry and really focused, but I think it's hard to quantify how hungry a team is. So our focus is really strong, and we're sort of desperate for success and really keen to perform, and that really starts next week in the prelim.
You talked about the motivation to win for guys that have been around for a long time and that sort of thing, that have sort of tasted a bit of finals but haven't won. What about the guys that aren't going to be there at all, like John Griffin and Clancy Pearce, the guys that are sort of still around the club but know that they won't get that opportunity?
Yeah, it's really tough. It happens every year. There's guys that just miss out through injury or illness or selection, but they're in it as much as we are. And there's guys like Jaden Pitt on the weekend, who's a hard luck footy story. And yeah, there's a lot of different factors and a lot of different people that would really enjoy Fremantle having a successful season, and we're doing it for ourselves and we're doing it for them.
I was going to ask you about Jaden as well. Tell us about when you saw him on the boundary line there. I think there was sort of a bit of an embrace and that sort of thing. Did you see what it meant to him?
Yeah, it's great to see him back around the guys, and as I said, it's a really tough footy story what's happened with Jaden, but he's still a valuable member of our brotherhood, and it was great to get around him after the win.
David, this theory goes around that small forwards often struggle to have an impact in finals. What did you make of the UFC guys last week, and sort of what can they do next week?
Yeah, I haven't heard of that theory, but yeah, I thought they played their role on the weekend. We don't need them to kick 5 goals each and be superstars. Everyone has a role to play, and I thought their pressuring and their chase from behind was at a standard that we needed it to be.
How are Michael Johnson and Gary Gibson tracking at the moment?
Yeah, I think they're going quite well. We've still got 9 days until we play, so they've been training and they'll be put through their paces over the weekend and going into next week, so they've still got plenty of time.
Were you always a midfielder? There's a lot of talk about Fremantle's midfield being a big midfield compared to other clubs. Did you always play midfield?
I've played a bit of forward, but generally in my younger years I was a midfielder, yeah.
Do you think it's an advantage for your team, having yourself who's, I don't know, 6'2", 6'3", and Mundy's probably 6'4", and Barlow's also pretty big?
Yeah, I think it's just our mould. I think we've got a good balance now of inside and outside run, with Daniel Pearce coming across and Stephen Hill on the outside. So I think we've got a really good balance at the moment, and with Aaron and Zach in the ruck, it's working quite well.
Does that help you wear that pressure that you said finals sort of brings to the table?
I think having bigger, stronger bodies definitely helps, but we're still quite young. Myself, Stephen, Nick Subin, guys like that are still relatively young, so against the bigger, more experienced bodies, it becomes quite challenging, but we're getting more and more experienced as we go.
Who do you expect to win on the weekend? Who do you think you'll play in the prelim?
I've got no idea really. You see on the weekend that favouritism and people and the tipsters really don't stand for much, do they? So I've got no idea.
I think in pre-season you tried to add a bit of weight to your legs. Do you feel that's helped you this season? You played with
Yeah, I think it's just part of my natural growth. I didn't have any real specific focus on getting too much bigger, but I'm at a comfortable weight now, and I'm happy to keep that.
How much of a bonus is the homegrown advantage that you guys have had? You've only dropped one the last couple of years.
I think on the weekend showed that homegrown advantage is just a myth. So we love playing in front of our members and supporters. They're fantastic, and we'll really enjoy that next week. But having a homegrown advantage, I think that's just a myth.